there's nothing really special about this particular group except that there's been so many of them and they've dominated the landscape for the last 30 or 40 years. They've gone through a number of transitions. They were the hippies in the 60s, the yuppies in the 80s, the dinks, which is double income, no kids, in the 80s when they were sort of in their 30s. They've caused the sort of the minivan boom and now the SUV boom. All those are being driven by this particular group. In the future, these are a group of consumers that actually have a lot of money to spend, and their needs are going to turn to health care, small affordable housing. A lot of them have lots of income. They're moving into their retirement age, and so they're starting to buy products like travel and second or third cars. And so, you know, they're a group that has a lot of money, and they're going to start to spend it on products that are appropriate for consumers their age. Now, the generation or the group of consumers that follows them are called Generation X. Were born between 65 and 76. They're now between 29 and 40. The name for this group came from a book by Douglas Copeland, and they were sort of considered the forgotten generation, primarily because they were in the shadow of the baby boomers. There were so many baby boomers that came ahead of them. It was a sort of a smaller group that came behind them, and they really were sort of considered the forgotten generation. The difficulty they had was that when they graduated from university or from high school, the baby boomers occupied so many jobs ahead of them. They were just that much older, and that they just didn't have the opportunities to move into companies and to advance, because there was this huge group of baby boomers that were occupying a lot of positions in companies. And so the term McJobs became quite popular, as they would graduate from university with a lot of debt and end up going to work in restaurants. So the show Friends is really modeled on Generation Xers, where they were getting together, not necessarily married, and working in coffee shops and sort of struggling to survive. This was probably one of the first generations that really didn't expect to do much better than their parents did financially, but they're you know, sort of slowly moving and getting families and generating revenue. Now, the children of the baby boomers are known as the baby boom echo, or Generation Y, born between 1977 and 94. This is a huge group of consumers, almost the same size as the baby boomers. The oldest is just sort of out of college. The youngest are still in high school. They make up about a third of the U.S. population, have a tremendous amount of spending power. They tend to be sort of well-educated, somewhat cynical of media. Some of the events that have defined them are things like Columbine, and so they're a group that's grown up with computers as a way of life, and divorce as part of their family structure. They've had helicopter parents that have sort of hovered over them and sort of watched and monitored and sort of driven them to soccer practice and ballet, and sort of kept these kids quite involved. They're sort of a key group in that they will become probably quite affluent, as many of them start to inherit their parents' money as well. Now, the key thing about these demographics is that, I think there's a group on the next slide, is that it will help identify opportunities for marketers. Okay, again, think back about the baby boomers. They're